Well, if you are wondering who that is and why that is so relevant at the moment because of the current Israeli and Palestinian war, it is so relevant at the moment. Behind me is Yassine, and that piece is called Breaking Borders, and he's one of the performers at Infecting the City that's currently underway in the city of Cape Town. But let's talk more about the festival. I'm going to bring Professor Jay Pather, who's the co-curator of the festival, and with him is Angelina Molloy. She's one of the artists as well that are performing at Infecting the City. Prof, it's so good to have you on the program. I feel like we've been having this conversation for so many years, and every year it gets better. Speak to us about 2023 and what it's brought in for Infecting the City.
Well, the festival, as you know, aims to bring all kinds of work to the general public. And the point about that is that you will see a work that is against a sculpture on a pavement, in a swimming pool, on the beach, depending on what the artist is aiming to do. And it's a connection with the space itself, but it's also a connection with a very particular theme. Very often a theme that is quite topical, as you pointed out, with the Israeli-Hamas conflict. But I think more than anything else, it's this year was aiming to find the theme of activism in all its forms. So from the beautiful and poetic through to the interventionist. And it's also to understand us as Africans and how we approach something like activism in a very nuanced way, in a very, very sophisticated way, because we've been through so many struggles over 500 years that we've developed a language in all forms, in all disciplines, from the visual arts all the way through to performance, and also interacting with public face to face and directly in our dance, in our mourning, in our celebrations. And we've developed a way of doing this in incredibly nuanced ways. And I think this year we wanted to focus on activism. It sounds like, oh my goodness, it's about protest action all over again. But it's not just about protest. It's about sustaining a dialogue with our material conditions. And we know our material conditions in South Africa in particular is not what it lived up to be over our decades of democracy. And our artists are connecting with that, relating with it, and trying to find the poetic and the beautiful and the aesthetically really, really profound. Also dipping into ritual, into our own traditions, and coming to the fore, and marrying that with our contemporary issues in remarkable and beautiful ways. So this year has seen 32 productions in a variety of different spaces, and working with those spaces. And of course Angelina Molloy is a very good example of that on my left, who has brought their work around land, around mines, and brought it to the District 6 Museum, which is also historic and a symbol of removals of people and the constant battle around land, which as you know, is central in South Africa. Yeah. And I think what Angelina does is bring, but she'll tell you about herself, but brings, from a curator's perspective, brings a multi-layered understanding to our issues. And we've seen that with Yassine's work. I mean, you saw the opening, but as it progresses, it really is about playing with these levels and playing with our emotions so that we see the visual and the excitement, but the stepping down into trying to understand how we feel, and some of that is about also bearing witness to our struggles, our tragedies, but also our resilience, our exuberance, our ability to to step out of it, like, dancing on a concrete and stepping out of that. But yeah.
Let's bring Angelina Maponya into this. Angelina, tell us a little bit about the piece. Professor touched a little bit on it, about land. Tell us a little bit about background. Give us background into that piece.
Yes, thank you so much. So the name of the production, or the piece rather, is called Ties. It's an offering. It's also a performance presentation of research that I've generated throughout the years. It focuses on the disparities between the mine workers and the mining community in the land of Baba Makhale in the northwest. And this work is a cumulative of research that has been going for about 10 years now.
Okay.
And the case that is still opened on land disputes, as well as who gets the right to mine in that land. And so it takes part in two components. The first is a performance installation, and then another is a kind of audience participation / performance. And what I'm doing here is I'm walking us through some of the research that has been gathered, and then presenting it to the audience in an attempt for maybe a response or for them to witness the work. I think a lot of audiences have responded to the work differently, but and the work has sort of been traveling that way in different spaces. It changes, it moves. That's in a nutshell, Ties.
I wanted to touch on what makes a change, from what you envisioned it from when it was still a baby to what it is now.
Yeah, I think the configuration of the space, one, the context of the city, but also audiences. I've found that a lot of the times we've moved it from it started out in Johannesburg, and then it went to Germany, and then it's in Cape Town now, and audiences have different knowledge of or what's happening in the land of Baba Makhale. Some are clueless about the land and the disputes and the conflict there. And so I think the work is quite malleable. It changes, it grows, it shrinks, and it gives to what the space also provides.
Speak to us about people, artists and creatives such as, Angelina Maponya, and how they open our eyes to what art can mean to different people.
I think a lot of the time we're so used to art as entertainment, and we want that, and we need that, and of course that actually feeds us. But I think that there is another aspect of art that makes us feel through issues that matter to us. But I think what we're finding more and more, and definitely on the continent, which is why I think our continent's artists are so treasured abroad. I curate a festival in Amsterdam, in the Netherlands, and in France as well, and there is the way we're able to connect with human issues and material issues is almost unthinkable in large parts of the world. And I think a lot of that does have to do with how implicated our own lives are as we grow up amongst ceremony and ritual, and that the idea of metaphor, of symbols, of representation is very, very inimical to us. So artists have keyed into that, and they're connecting with tradition and heritage, and with also a contemporary sensibility. So it's not just drums and dance, which very often it's quite amazing. Sometimes you present a work, if I present a work like Angelina's or Yassine's, or even the jazz artwork, and you present it in foreign context, and like if you, as you've seen with Yassine's work, and people come over, we were expecting drums and dance, and you want to say, well, that's not all we are. That's not all we do. Yeah. We're able to slice and, in a forensic way, really get under people's skin around what issues actually mean, and that's what the artists do.
All right, Prof, thank you so much for talking to us. Thank you for having you on the program. Professor Jay Pather is one of the curators of Infecting the City. He was with Angelina Maponya. She's one of the artists at Infecting the City.